Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of strength training with Para Rowing Foundation. I finally have Kingsley back after he rode a million gajillion miles on the erg, or kilometers, I'm sorry. So welcome back, Kingsley. Thanks for joining us. And we will be doing pretty well-rounded workout today, doing a little work prone, supine, getting the shoulders working as well as the core. So when you're ready, let's take a comfortable seated position, and we're just going to start with our regular warm-up: elevation, depression, protraction, retraction. So let's take an inhale and pull those shoulders up towards the ears. Exhale, press them away, pull from the armpits. Inhale, feel that tension build up towards the neck, and then exhale, let it melt away and feel the tension underneath the armpits. Let's take 3 more of those. Starting to lock into that breathing. Every inhale, thinking about pulling into the sides of the ribs. And as you exhale, think about narrowing the rib cage a little bit, creating that compression in the abdomen. Last one. Big inhale. Exhale. Let's hold the depression, and let's just take a look over our right shoulder. Come back to center. Left shoulder. Back to center. One more time in each direction. Just making sure that we can move that cervical spine freely without input from our shoulders. Back to center, and then let's take our hands out for protraction and retraction. Yes, remember, if you're fatigued from all of your erging, you can always take those hands a little lower in space. So we're going to start on an exhale, press the fingertips towards your screen, and then inhale, pull the shoulder blades, wrap around and open the chest. Good. Exhale, press away. Feel the shoulder blades widen on the back. Inhale, retract, pull them towards the spinal column. Exhale, finding that punch with the underarms. And then we're inhaling, feeling those shoulder blades slide towards one another. Let's take 3 more. Really thinking even with both fingertips in both directions. Last one here. Big exhale, press the fingertips away. Inhale, pull the shoulders together, and then rest the hands. Give yourselves 2 shoulder rolls. Yes. You can give yourselves a little look each direction again. Make sure we don't have any tension in weird places. Now you're going to grab a band. If you do have a circular band, this actually works really well with it. I don't, so I'm going to demonstrate with a long band, and Kingsley has a circular band to demonstrate for us. Perfect. So hands are going to come out in front of the shoulders or a little bit lower, all right? And we're going to do a little clock work. So leave your left hand fixed in space, and your right hand is going to go up towards 1 o'clock, yeah, and then towards 3 o'clock, and then down towards 5 o'clock. That's not right. Yes, it is. All right. So 1, out to 3. Good. And then down towards 5. That's it. Keeping it nice and even pressure all the way out. We're trying to think constant velocity, so we are not accelerating or using momentum at any point during this. We'll take 2 more times around the clock on this side. Good. Trying to keep that left hand as still as possible, anchored in space for 1 more. Here we go. 1. Out to 3. Keep that shoulder shelved for 5, and back to center. Take a little break in between if you need it, and then we're going to head to the other side. So find that positioning again. This time the right hand stays fixed in space, and we're going to take it out to 11, center, 9, center, down to 7, center. Good. Back up to the top. Again, thinking nice and even pressure through the band. Finding that consistent speed, even as the tension of the band gets a little heavier. And our goal here is to get that shoulder moving in some different directions. So it's not necessarily that you want to, stretch your band to the breaking point, but we're just trying to warm up in various planes of motion. Let's do one more. This is everyone's good side, right? The left. I just rode port for a really long time, so I'm cheating. All right, you can just take that band off to the side, all right? Now we will be using a ball today, okay? It can be really any type of ball. In fact, this works really well with something like a soccer ball if you have one. I do not, so I'm gonna demonstrate with a lacrosse ball, and then you're gonna need a wall or something that is perpendicular to your floor that you can press into, all right? So again, find that comfortable seated position. Put the ball out in front of you, right at shoulder height or a little bit below, okay? And then you're gonna start by pressing into the ball. And it's okay to take a little lean forward just to make sure that you have some weight into it. And again, think about pressing your palm as hard as you can into the ball. And we're gonna draw our ABCs here, all right? So start with A, draw down, up, across, and then we do B, all right? I'm not gonna say every letter, so you guys continue to make your letters here. You can do upper or lowercase. I like uppercase because I think it gives you a little bit more range of motion. You can do cursive if you want, calligraphy, whatever floats your boat, all right? But what we're doing here is with those different letters, we're getting into the different muscles of the rotator cuff here and keeping some pressure in through that lat and serratus. I lost track of my letters. What are you on, Kingsley?
On K.
Okay, all right, okay. I was talking. I think I just started drawing squiggles. All right, so every time you go to draw the next letter, make sure you're resetting, thinking about pressing into that wall. You should probably start to feel a little burning up the top of the shoulder. Yes, oh yes, it's fabulous. And since we are working with a Brit here, we are going all the way to Z for those of you in the States. All right, and make sure we're keeping that chest nice and square to the wall in front of you. Again, a little bit of a lean forward if you need to keep that pressure. All right, I think we must be nearly there.
Just on W now.
W, all right. I'm telling you, I can't draw and talk at the same time. All right, here's my Y. And finally, Z. Whew, release that. Yeah, that's a good one. Give yourselves a big shoulder roll. Take a big circle with that arm. Yeah, give yourself a nice release, opposite direction. The good news is that we're done with one side. The bad news is that we have two sides. So find your way with your ball into the opposite hand. Again, make sure you're setting yourself up so that that ball is right at shoulder height or a little lower, no higher. And then press the palm of the ball into the hand. Now, nothing should really be going on with the fingertips too much. And then when you're ready, let's draw those letters. Thinking about working into each corner of movement here. Lots of work going on in the top and front of the shoulder. And I like the ball because it gives you the chance to be in what's actually a closed kinetic chain. So we do have some support from the wall for our arms, so we're not fully supporting ourselves up against gravity. So it allows us to really work into those muscles without compensating quite as much up into like the trap or the neck. So if you do feel that you're starting to feel this up in like the top of your neck, make sure that you can give yourself a look over each shoulder. Should not be holding that tension into the trapezius or your neck muscles. Nice job. Let's reset and make sure that we're pressing into that ball a little bit harder. All right, where are we at, Kingsley?
I've got to Z now.
Oh, you did it. Okay. All right. I'm going to draw my Z because I think that's a really satisfying letter. Okay, fantastic. Nice job. So you can set that ball off to the side. We are done with it for the day. And grab a foam roller. You can do this with like a folded up pillow as well, but Kingsley had the fabulous idea to do a little bit of ab work on the foam roller. It's going to give us a little bit of a stability challenge. So place that foam roller behind you. And you're going to come down and lay on it right around the shoulder blades. Okay? Make sure you're in a comfortable position where you feel like you're supported through that low back. And we're going to start with the hands behind the head. All right. You can always have those arms reaching out as well if you feel like that gives you a little more stability. All right. So if you have the hands behind the head, we're going to inhale and extend over the foam roller. And this should just feel pretty nice, hopefully. Trying to keep the ribs still closed a little bit, so we're not really popping. We're still keeping some abdominal connection there. Extending around the foam roller. And then as we exhale, we're going to curl up into our chest lift. I want you to think about bringing that top rib towards your hip. And then we're going to inhale, draw back. Exhale, blow out the air as you lift into that flexion. Inhale, expand the rib cage east to west as you come into your flexion, your extension. Let's take 5 more of these. So again, the extension on the way back should feel really nice. Really thinking about rounding over a barrel. And then as you press up into that flexion, use the breath to help drive the compression of the rib cage. Thinking about narrowing the space from rib to rib. And really creating that muscle tension by allowing the muscles to come closer together. Last 2. Exhale, press up. Last 1. On this next one, we're going to hold it up. So enjoy that extension back there. And then exhale, come up and hold your flexion. Hands are going to come down by the hips. Good. See if we can reach the fingertips 1 inch further and get just a little bit more flexion up. There we go. Abdominals should be working a lot here. Okay, let's add a little balance challenge. Nice, Kingsley. We're going to reach 1 arm up by the ear. Yes. And then slowly bring it back down. Opposite arm reaches up. Bring it back down. If you feel like the balance is challenged too much, just moderate your range of motion. Just think lift to the kneecap and then lower back down. Lift to the kneecap, lower back down. And as you lift, you should feel that opposite side oblique working like crazy to keep you stable on that foam roller behind you. Good. All right, let's add it reciprocal. So we're going to change at the same time. Yeah, so it's like a big scissor with the arms. All right, let's make sure we're keeping track of that breath. So as we switch, let's exhale. Inhale here. Exhale, switch. Inhale at the top. Good. Every exhale, again, I want you to think about those muscle fibers driving a little bit deeper together. See if we can narrow the space between the ribs a little bit. Good. Last 2. Exhale and switch. Make sure that gaze is in front of you to keep the head in a happy place. Hold both arms down on 1. You can take a little extension over the foam roller. You guys deserve it. Take a nice little break. You can even pop your ribs. You have permission. And then when you're ready, tuck those ribs down and then exhale, come back into that flexion. Reach the arms long down to your feet. I want you to think about pressing your shoulder blades down the back. Reach your hands as far as you can away from your elbows. Now, we're going to do a variation of that. So hold the flexion as tight as you can. Open the right arm out 1 foot and then close it. Left arm opens out 1 foot and then close it. Good. So we're starting small here with that lateral movement out. Again, the opposite side oblique, right? So that opposite side body should be working a ton to help keep you in that square position with the torso. If that's feeling good, you can add a little more range of motion. Think like a snow angel. Draw the arm out towards a T position and then exhale, draw it back in. I want you to pretend like you have resistance going against your hands and you're really having to pull from under the armpit to help slide that arm back towards the hip. Good. Let's take 2 more on each side. Use that exhale, drive the breath out. Remember that armpit, those armpit muscles, your serratus, your lats, those are part of your core. So let's think about that wrapping sensation around the whole torso. Last one here, hold it strong, and then let's release and take another nice extension. You can take the hands behind the head just to keep the neck supported. Good. Let the elbows go a little wide. Maybe get a little pec stretch in here as a bonus. And then when you're ready, you can come off of your foam roller, put it out of the way. Actually, we're gonna go into supine arms. So you actually, if you want to use your foam roller under your knees to support yourself, then hold on to it. I am not, because I'm in my apartment in Boston and I don't have enough space. So come into a lying position. We're gonna use a band that is anchored, all right? And you will only need 1 handle today, okay? So we're gonna lie down on our backs with our head facing our anchor point, okay? Again, make sure that you have a supported position here. So foam roller can go under the knees or a pillow can go under the knees, whatever feels good for you here. So we are going to do a little bit of our supine arms series here, but instead of doing both arms at once, we're going to do, or both arms with resistance at once, we are going to do both arms, but only 1 hand is going to have the resistance. So let's get our band into our left hand, all right? And then the right arm is going to have nothing. And what we're trying to do here is create identical movements in unidentical circumstances, okay? So 1 hand will have resistance and 1 hand won't. Let's start with both hands up to the ceiling, right at the shoulder line. So Kingsley, bring those hands forward a little bit. Yeah, right there, exactly. And this is gonna be our stopping point for every single movement, basically. So we never wanna go too far up, just because that's gonna put the shoulder into a slightly more compromised position in this position we're in. On an exhale, bring the hands down towards the hips, and then inhale, draw back up to that stopping point. Exhale, lower down, and then inhale, lift back up. All right, so right here, you should already feel like your right arm is probably wanting to move a lot quicker, or maybe it's trying to lift off to the side or do something crazy. So again, I want you to pretend like you have a band that's attaching your hands together, and they stay the same space apart, and they're staying at the same rate of speed throughout that movement. We should also start to feel that those right side obliques up in that top rib cage are helping to anchor us so that we don't let the resistance pull us towards the left side. Let's take 2 more here. Reach the fingertips long, 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 long every time you reach down. Try to keep the shoulder blades flat on the mat as you come back up. On this one, hold the fingertips long. We're going to take a tricep bend here. So keep the elbows down and then bend the forearms in. Exhale, press back out. So it's bending at just the elbow, and then press back out. Both elbows bend, both elbows extend, trying to get those arms to do the same things, even with that dissimilar weight here. And as you extend, I want you to think about creating 181 degrees with the elbow. So we're really working the back of the arm to come strong into that extension. Let's take 3 more. Exhaling as you press. On your next one, hold the arms long, bring them back up to your shoulder line, and we're going to take the hands out to a 45-degree Y. So you should feel like your fingertips are pointing towards opposite corners of the ceiling here. Good. And we're going to exhale, press the hands to the hips, and then inhale, come back up. So it's like we're drawing a big V with our arms here. And again, we're working into a slightly different range of motion here. Finding a little bit of that lateral movement in the shoulder as we bring the arms up and out. Like a little A-frame on a sturdy New England house. Let's take 2 more here. Control the band, especially as you're coming on the ascent. We don't want to let the resistance fling us back. And on this next one, we're going to hold the hands down by the hips. Flip the palms so that they're facing the hips. And we're going to take the hands out to the side and then press it back in for this nice little snow angel. Again, the lateral movement is what I find the most challenging, especially from a balance perspective and from a perspective of keeping that shoulder shelved. So if you feel like the shoulders are starting to creep up towards the ears, take that range of motion and just go, a foot or maybe 2 feet away from the hips. Doesn't have to be huge. What I want you to focus on here is that squeeze under the armpits and the length through the arm as you sweep to the hips. Last one here. Let's bring it back up through the midline so that we're back in that starting position, fingertips towards the ceiling. And we're going to open out to the side and then sweep to the hips and come back through the center. We're just going to take 4 in each direction, arm circles. Again, big or as small as you want them to be. Focusing on having the humerus stay nice and heavy in the socket so that the shoulder blades can stay more or less flat on the mat behind you. Pause at the top on this one, and then we're going to exhale, press down towards the mat, reach the fingertips long, flip the palms towards the hips as you open up and then around. So it's press to the mat, open like your snow angel, and then draw the thumbs together back to your shoulder line. Last 2 in this direction. Thinking about making the radius of your circle as big as you can get it because we're reaching so long. Pause at the top, bring the hands down, and we are going to switch sides. So same thing, we're going to put the right hand into the band. And again, moderate your tension as you need to. The more that you choke up on the band or the further you move away from your anchor point, the more tension you're going to have, all right? So again, we will start with our hands right over the armpit line. Palms are facing away from the torso, and we're going to exhale, press down to the hip. Inhale, control the lift. Exhale, press down, lengthen. Inhale, lift. And so what I want you guys to think about is as we press down, we depress the shoulder. That's from the warm up, all right? And as we inhale, I want you to think about just retracting the shoulder blade a millimeter, all right? So it's not a big one. We don't want to pull the fingertips towards our body. Just want you to think about letting the shoulder, the head of the shoulder bone rest heavy in the socket at the top so that we're able to keep those collarbones nice and wide. We'll take 2 more here, creating that even space and pressure in both hands. On our next one, let's press down and hold triceps. Start by pressing the fingertips away and then bend at the elbows. Press long. Both elbows bend, fingertips to the ceiling. Exhale, extend, finding that work in the back of the arm. Let's make sure that we're still knitting those ribs together a little bit. I'm not mean enough to make you guys do a chest lift here with just one band, but you should feel like you have that abdominal connection that you would be able to lift up if I asked you to. Last one here. Lift up through center. Take it out to your 45-degree angles. Your arms are like a Y, and then we're going to exhale, press to the hips. Inhale, lift to opposite corners. Exhale, press. Find that abdominal connection. Inhale, up to the corners. Thinking about connecting the shoulder girdle to the rib cage. We've got 2 more here. On our next one, we're going to hold the hands down, flip the palms to the hips, reach the fingertips away from the ears, and then we're going to open out for our little snow angel. Again, this one doesn't need to be big. Moderate your range of motion so that you're only moving in a space where you can keep those shoulders nice and away from those ears. As soon as you feel them start to creep up, you've gone a little bit too far. And we should be feeling those obliques working, that side body, to keep the stability here as we take some of our weight away from our midline. Last 2. Think about that sweep from the armpit on 1. Draw those fingertips up through the center, and we'll go for our arm circles. So it's out to the sides, sweep to the hips, and then come up through the center. Stop at the shoulder line. Out and around, sweep to the hips, up through center. Good, just 2 more in this direction. Thinking about drawing even circles with both hands. And then on the top of this one, we're going to switch the directions. So it's exhale, press through the center, flip the palms, open out, and then draw the fingertips back to the midline. Exhale, press, flip palms open, and then back through center. Really use the exhale. Think about your imaginary chest lift. Last one in this direction. Exhale, press, open, and around. Nice job, everyone. All right, you can place your band out of the way. Then we're going to flip onto our stomachs for a little bit of extension work. So come into a comfortable lying position. We're going to start with a little swan work. So you're going to come onto your stomach. I want you to think about the hands coming right in front of the armpits, okay? The forearm is flat on the mat, and your head, your forehead, is resting on the mat. Before we do anything, I want you to think about pressing your elbows back towards your hips a little bit. Now, don't actually move them. Just think about pulling your elbows back to open the chest and drop the shoulders a little bit. Now that we're in that strong position, you're going to press into your elbows and hands nice and even and start to press so hard that you lift up into a little extension. Feel as much space in the collarbones as you can possibly get. Think about pulling your elbows back and your head forward for that opposition. and then rest it down. Let's go again. Press into the hands and elbows. Lift the chest. No wrinkles in the back of the neck, so we're thinking the part of the hair is probably closer to the wall than the ceiling. Roll the collarbones back. Pull the elbows, send the crown of the head, and then keep that pull in opposition as you lower down. We'll take 2 more of those. Even press in, collarbones are open, elbows are sliding back towards your hips. And then as you lower, I want you to think, get your nose past your fingertips 1 more centimeter. Last one. Press into the hands and elbows. Shoulders are rolled away from the collarbones. We're reaching the elbows like we're trying to pull the mat underneath our belly button. Press and hold for 3, 2, 1, and release. Nice work. All right, take your hands out to a Y position in front of you. All right, same idea here is we're going to use some extension, but this time we're not going to have the benefit of pressing into our hands, okay? So we're going to start by lifting the hands up and off the mat. Sweep the arms around towards your hips. Let the hands meet behind your tailbone. Clasp your fingertips, and then start to press back and extend. Same idea, rolling the collarbones back, and then bring everything down. Hands come back out and around to your Y. All right, let's see if we can link that extension a little bit earlier. So now we're gonna lift the hands up. As you sweep back, see if you can press through the hands hard and squeeze the shoulder blades together to get that extension before you clasp the hands. Then once you have the hands clasped, press the fists behind you a little more to lift 1 more inch. And then bring everything down back to your Y position. I'm going to take 2 more of those. Make sure that shoulder is shelved before we go. Lift the palms up. Sweep and start to lift the head. Start to lift the chest. Clasp the hands. Press back. 1 more inch of extension. Feel that work in the mid-back here. And then slowly return down to the mat. Last one. We start with that lift. Sweep. Let the nose come off. The chest peel off. Clasp the hands. Press back. Wide collarbones, long neck. And then come down and rest the hands. Nice job. All right, let's take a stretch here. So let's reach our right hand out into a T position. And then we're going to have our left hand come underneath our armpit like we did in the swan, but this time the elbow is up, okay? And so all we're going to do is we're going to press into that left hand, rotate the torso so that we have weight into the right shoulder. And you should feel a nice stretch across the chest. Hold for 3, 2, 1, and release. Let's switch that side. So left hand comes out to a T, right hand comes underneath the armpit. Think about reaching your left fingertips along as you press into that right hand. And feel that nice opening of the left chest, the left front of the shoulder. And bonus, we get a little bit of rotation here as well. Hold for 3, 2, and 1. Bring it all the way down. All right, last hard thing for our workout today. We're going to bring our hands to our elbows to a 90-degree angle out to the sides. So think about if you started in a T position, you would just bend your elbows to bring them into your little cactus arms here. Forehead is resting, all right? And we're going to start with our external rotation of the fingertips. Before we move anything, I want you to think about shelving the shoulder so it's a little roll back so that we are not allowing the front of the shoulder to rest towards the mat, all right? Back body is active here, and all you're going to do is press into the elbows and lift those fingertips maybe an inch, maybe a centimeter. Not a big movement, but you should already feel this firing up those external rotators. It only takes a few of these. We're going up to 8. That was 4. Keep those shoulders pressing away from the mat. Maybe we can get a little higher. Last 2. 1. And then rest the fingertips. You can relax the shoulder a little bit. We're going to add on to that, all right? So last exercise for our workout. You're going to press the shoulders back and away, a little bit of that roll. We're going to start with that same thing. Lift the fingertips. Now try to keep those fingertips lifted slightly above the elbows, and we're going to lift the elbows as well. Bring the elbows down first, fingertips follow. So it's fingertips lift, elbows squeeze up, lower the elbows, lower the fingertips. Trying to keep that slight external rotation as we lift into that full 90-degree position up off the mat. We've got 4 more. Fingertips. Use the shoulder blades to slide together, the tips. Lower it down, fingertips follow. Last 3. Think about rotating the shoulder and the shoulder joint. Keep the rotation as you lift. Lower it down, fingertips last. Last 2. All right, squeeze at the top. Keep a little bit of pressure east to west here as well. Final 1. Rotate, lift, squeeze, widen the elbows. Elbows come down, fingertips follow. Nice job. All right, just take your hands behind your back. Think about stacking one hand on top of the other, and you're just gonna let the elbows come down to the mat. Because we did so much of that external rotation, just being in this internally rotated position should give you a little stretch on the back of that shoulder. And if you want a little more, you can walk your hands a little further up the back. All right, come out of that, and then we'll wrap up with our book openers so that you guys think that we stretched more than we did. All right, so come into a lying position. You can use that foam roller underneath the top leg if you want a little bit of support there. And we're gonna bring our hands out in front of us like you're reading a book. Shoulders are stacked, hips are stacked. And we're going to exhale as we open up. Reach the fingertips towards the opposite wall. And then draw back to center. Let's do 2 more. Open it up. Think about reaching the fingertips long in each direction. Looking for that stretch across the chest, but also that really nice twist in that middle back. Draw it back to center. Last time. Reach the fingertips out and up. As you come into that final position, gaze has followed that hand over so that you have that full twist of the spine, including the head. Draw back to center. And then we're going to come into the opposite side. So roll on over. Come into that sideline position. Again, make sure that you start with those shoulders stacked. And we're going to reach the fingertips along on that whole rainbow as we follow with our gaze. The goal here is not necessarily to touch the ground. The goal is to find that rotation in the spine. And then back to center. 2 more times on this side. Open it up. Thinking about that spin from the mid-back all the way up through the top of the head. Back through center. Last one. See if you can get a little more length towards the wall behind you. Back through center. Come up to a seated position. And let's take a few shoulder rolls. Start forward, thinking about that elevation and depression as we roll the shoulders forward. Roll the shoulders backward, thinking about the retraction to get that nice open chest. Last 2. 1. Leave the shoulder blades down the back for the rest of your day. All right, you guys are all set for your workout. Thank you, Kingsley. Awesome job. And as always, if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a note. Thanks again.